Jake Thompson never imagined that a simple Earth mammal would cause such chaos at the Intergalactic Academy. As the only human in his xenobiology class, he had grown accustomed to the curious stares from his alien classmates. The Academy, established after Earth joined the Galactic Federation 30 years ago, had only recently begun accepting human students. Most aliens still viewed humans as primitive newcomers to the galactic stage. Their technology lagged centuries behind other species, and their homeworld was considered unremarkable compared to the vast gas giants and crystalline planets that other students called home. What humans lacked in technological advancement, however, they made up for with their bizarre evolutionary history and unique planetary conditions. Professor Zorb, a tall, blue-skinned Arcturian with 6 eyes strategically placed around his bulbous head, called the class to order. Today we begin our unit on dangerous megafauna across the galaxy. Each student will present research on one lethal creature from their homeworld. Jake's antennae-bearing classmate Krill whispered, "Humans don't have any truly dangerous creatures, do they? Your world is quite tame." The professor continued, "We'll start alphabetically by species. Human Jake, you're first." Jake stepped to the front of the classroom, activated his holographic display, and projected the image of a massive gray beast with a gaping mouth full of tusks. "This is a hippopotamus," Jake announced, "one of Earth's most deadly mammals." The classroom erupted in laughter. Mork, a reptilian student with emerald scales, nearly fell from his hovering chair. "That blob? It looks ridiculous. Where are its weapons, its armor, its venom sacs?" Professor Zorb raised 3 of his appendages for silence. "Continue, Jake. Hippopotamuses kill approximately 500 humans per year on Earth. They can weigh up to 9,900 pounds, or about 4,500 kilograms, and can run at speeds of 30 kilometers per hour. Their jaws can open 180 degrees, and their teeth can grow to 20 inches. They're extremely territorial and aggressive." Jake clicked to the next slide, showing a hippo attacking a small boat. The laughter died down as he continued. "A hippo's bite. Force is strong enough to snap a crocodile in half, or crush a watermelon like it's nothing. They've been known to overturn boats and attack without provocation. Humans fear them more than lions, elephants, or any other African megafauna." Linny, a jellyfish-like student floating in a gravity-nullifying tank, pulsed skeptically. "But they're herbivores, correct? They don't even eat the creatures they kill?" "That's what makes them more terrifying," Jake explained. "They kill not for food, but simply because you're in their territory. They're unpredictable and remarkably fast for their size. Ancient humans who encountered hippos developed deep cultural fears of them." Professor Zorb's multiple eyes blinked, in succession. "Interesting. Your planet's high gravity and oxygen-rich atmosphere has produced some formidable life forms, it seems." "That's nothing," Jake continued, warming to his subject. "Wait until I tell you about our oceans." The classroom grew quiet as Jake pulled up the next image, a massive hippopotamus underwater, mouth agape, looking like a prehistoric nightmare. The alien students stared in stunned silence. "Hippopotamuses are semi-aquatic," Jake explained. "They can hold their breath for 5 minutes and are essentially neutrally buoyant in water. They walk along river bottoms like they're strolling through a park, and they're fast underwater, too." Mork's scales had lost some of their luster. "You evolved on the same planet as these monsters?" Jake smiled. "We did. And hippopotamuses aren't even close to the most dangerous creatures humans have had to contend with throughout our evolution." For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Jake felt a small spark of respect from his classmates. Perhaps Earth wasn't so unremarkable. After all, the news of Jake's hippopotamus presentation spread quickly through the Academy's dormitories. The following morning, as Jake entered the cafeteria for breakfast, he noticed several students glancing his way with newfound curiosity. "Is it true?" asked Tool, a gaseous entity who communicated through modulated sound waves, "that your species developed agriculture and civilization while sharing continents with these hippopotamuses?" Jake nodded as he selected a synthesized approximation of scrambled eggs from the food processor. "Absolutely. Hippos are just one of many megafauna species that survived on Earth into the modern age." A group of students had gathered around Jake's table, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs focused intently on him. This was unprecedented attention. Usually, humans were considered unremarkable curiosities at best. Professor Zorb has assigned us a research task, explained Plex, a crystalline being whose body refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. We must investigate other dangerous Earth species and determine how humans manage to become the dominant species. Despite these threats, Jake couldn't help but smile. For the first time, his alien classmates were taking a genuine interest in Earth. In xenobiology class that afternoon, Professor Zorb expanded on the previous day's lesson. Jake's presentation yesterday highlighted something fascinating about Earth. It's what xenobiologists call a death world. The term caused a stir among the students. Death worlds were rare in the galaxy, planets with such extreme conditions and dangerous fauna that sapient life seldom evolved there. Most species in the Federation evolved on worlds with moderate gravity, predictable weather patterns, and relatively benign wildlife, Professor Zorb continued. Humans, however, evolved while constantly facing predators, natural disasters, and environmental extremes. Jake raised his hand. Professor, Earth isn't considered particularly extreme by human standards. The professor's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. That, Jake, is precisely what makes humans remarkable to xenobiologists. What you consider normal would be catastrophic for most other species. After class, several classmates approached Jake. Is it true humans keep miniature predators in their dwellings? Asked Linny, pulsing curiously in her tank. You mean pets? Like cats and dogs? Yes, we domesticated several species. Mork's reptilian eyes widened. And you willingly touch these creatures? Without protective gear? We even sleep with them sometimes, Jake replied, enjoying their shocked reactions. Word of Earth's unusual status spread throughout the academy. That evening, Jake found his dormitory room door chime ringing constantly, as curious aliens came with questions about Earth. Is it true your oceans contain creatures that can swallow a being whole? Do you really experience frozen water falling from the sky? How do humans survive in an atmosphere filled with corrosive oxygen? The questions continued until curfew. As Jake prepared for bed, his roommate Grex, an arachnoid being from a low-gravity moon, chittered nervously. Jake, Grex said, compound eyes fixed on Jake's holopad where an image of a hippopotamus was displayed. Do you ever miss seeing these creatures? Jake contemplated the image of the hippo. Sometimes. Earth's biodiversity is something I took for granted until coming here. Your species tamed a death world, Grex said with a note of admiration. Perhaps humans aren't as primitive as we thought. Jake smiled as he drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow, he would tell them about sharks. Professor Zorb's xenobiology class had been completely transformed. Where once Jake had been an afterthought, the primitive human student from an unimpressive world, he now found himself the center of attention. The professor had reorganized the semester's curriculum to focus on comparative planetary environments, with Earth as a primary case study. Today, announced Professor Zorb, we will discuss evolutionary adaptations to predatory threats. Each student will analyze how their species develop defenses against their world's most dangerous predators. Tool went first, explaining how his gaseous ancestors developed complex molecular structures that made them unpalatable to the filter feeders of their homeworld. Plex described crystalline resonance patterns that disoriented the sonar of subterranean hunters. Each alien species had evolved elegant, specialized adaptations to one or two primary threats. When Jake's turn came, he pulled up a timeline of human evolution. Humans didn't specialize against any single predator, he explained. We had to contend with dozens of apex predators simultaneously. Big cats that could outrun us, bears that could overpower us, venomous snakes, disease-carrying insects, and yes, territorial hippopotamuses. We weren't the strongest, fastest, or best armored species. Then how did you survive? Asked Krill, antennae twitching with interest. Adaptability, Jake said. We developed tools, cooperation, and problem-solving abilities that let us handle almost any threat. We couldn't outrun a cheetah, but we could make spears. We couldn't survive extreme cold naturally, but we could use fire and clothing. Professor Zorb's appendages tapped thoughtfully against his desk. An interesting evolutionary strategy. Most species develop specialized adaptations: armor, venom, camouflage. Humans instead developed generalized intelligence as their primary survival tool. Precisely, Jake continued. And our early technologies were surprisingly effective. With just sharpened sticks and cooperative hunting strategies, early humans could take down animals many times their size and strength. After class, a small group of students invited Jake to join their study pod, an unprecedented honor for a human at the academy. We're focusing on environmental adaptation, explained Linny, her translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent excitement. Would you share more about how humans adapted to Earth's varied biomes? Over the next few hours, Jake described human adaptations to environments ranging from Arctic tundra to scorching deserts. His new friends listened with growing amazement. Your species can survive in temperature ranges that would kill most of us, Mork observed, his scaled skin shimmering with concern. And you do this with just technology, not biological adaptation? That's right, Jake said. Human ingenuity compensated for our physical limitations. Later that evening, Jake received a priority message from the Academy's administration. Professor Zorb had recommended him for an advanced research position in the xenobiology department, a position typically reserved for senior students from established Federation species. Your unique perspective on evolutionary pressure and adaptation would be valuable to our research, the message read. Few Federation xenobiologists have studied Death World evolution firsthand. Jake stared at the message in disbelief. He had come to the Academy hoping merely to blend in, to learn about the galaxy, without drawing attention to his primitive human origins. Now, those very origins had become his greatest asset. As he prepared for sleep, Jake pulled up an image of Earth on his holopad. Beautiful blue oceans, swirling white clouds, and the green and brown patches of continents teeming with life. For the first time since leaving home, he felt a surge of pride in his planet and species. Earth wasn't just another world among millions. It was exceptional in its dangers and in the resilient species it had forged. The Academy's annual Xenological Symposium arrived, bringing dignitaries and scientists from across the Federation. Typically, first-year students merely observed these proceedings, but this year was different. Professor Zorb had nominated Jake to present on Earth's evolutionary pressures as part of a panel on emerging species adaptation. Standing backstage, Jake felt his heart pounding. The auditorium was filled with some of the galaxy's most prominent xenobiologists. Many had never met a human before. Nervous? Asked Professor Zorb, approaching with a reassuring flutter of his appendages. Terrified, Jake admitted. I'm just a first-year student. What insights could I possibly offer to Federation experts? You offer something no other presenter can. First-hand experience of a death world. Remember, Jake, to these scientists, your everyday experiences are as alien as the hippopotamus was to your classmates. When Jake's turn came, he stepped onto the hovering platform that served as the symposium stage. Thousands of eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs of indeterminate function focused on him. Distinguished guests, Jake began, his voice steadier than he felt. I present today not as an expert in xenobiology, but as a primary source. A human who grew up on Earth, a planet recently classified as a Class 4 death world. A murmur rippled through the audience. Jake launched into his presentation, displaying images of Earth's varied ecosystems and the dangers they contained. He showed videos of thunderstorms, earthquakes, venomous creatures, and predators. All phenomena humans considered normal. What's remarkable about humans isn't that we survived these conditions, Jake explained, but that we never realized how unusual they were. The constant threat of death shaped our psychology as much as our physiology. He displayed brain scans, comparing human neurological structures to those of species from more benign worlds. Humans evolved with heightened risk assessment capabilities, advanced pattern recognition, and unusually strong fight-or-flight responses. We're constantly evaluating threats, even when we don't realize it. The audience was enthralled. After Jake concluded his presentation, questions came rapidly from all corners of the auditorium. How did humans develop art and philosophy while constantly facing existential threats? Asked a telepathic cloud dweller from Deneb 4. Jake smiled. Perhaps because of those threats, not despite them. Our awareness of mortality gave us a unique appreciation for beauty and meaning. Would you classify humans as prey animals or predators? Inquired a silicon-based academic. Both and neither, Jake replied. We were prey to many creatures, but our adaptability allowed us to become apex predators ourselves. This dual perspective shaped our understanding of the natural order. The symposium extended far beyond its scheduled conclusion as the questions continued. When it finally ended, Jake found himself surrounded by Federation scientists eager to collaborate on research projects about Earth. Back in the dormitory that evening, Jake's communicator chimed constantly with messages from students and faculty throughout the academy. Grex observed the flurry of communications with amusement. You've become quite popular, the arachnoid noted. Everyone wants to know about the human from the death world, Jake laughed. And to think, just weeks ago I was trying to convince everyone that Earth wasn't primitive and boring. The academy announcements mentioned you'll be leading a special seminar next term, Grex said. What will you teach? Earth survival skills, Jake replied. Apparently, there's significant interest in how humans navigate dangerous environments. I never thought my camping trips and wilderness training would become valuable academic knowledge. As Jake drifted to sleep that night, he reflected on how dramatically his position at the academy had changed. The word hippopotamus, so ordinary, to him, had opened the door to a new understanding between species. Sometimes it seemed terror was the beginning of respect. The academy's quarterly field trip approached, traditionally a highlight of the xenobiology curriculum. Students visited a carefully selected planet to study its ecosystems firsthand. This term's destination had been kept secret, generating rampant speculation among the student body. At breakfast, rumors circulated wildly. I heard it's a gas giant with floating life forms, Toole said excitedly, his gaseous form shimmering with anticipation. No, it's definitely an ice moon, countered Plex. Professor Zorb has been researching cryogenic organisms all year. The mystery was solved when Professor Zorb called an assembly. The massive holographic display behind him activated, showing a familiar blue and green sphere. This term, he announced, with special permission from Federation authorities and the Earth government, we will be conducting our field studies on Earth. The auditorium erupted in a cacophony of excited chittering, buzzing, and pulsing lights as students expressed their astonishment. Never in the Academy's history had such a newly admitted planet been selected for study. Professor Zorb raised his appendages for silence. This unprecedented opportunity comes with strict protocols. Earth's biosphere is uniquely dangerous to many of your species. Safety measures will be paramount. He gestured toward Jake. Fortunately, we have an Earth native who has agreed to serve as our primary guide. Jake Thompson will help prepare you for what to expect. In the weeks that followed, Jake found himself teaching crash courses on Earth environmental hazards. He worked with the Academy's engineering department to design specialized protective gear for his alien classmates, accounting for Earth's higher gravity, oxygen-rich atmosphere, and variable weather. Remember, Jake emphasized during one preparation session, most Earth animals will be as curious about you as you are about them. Keep your distance, follow protocols, and you'll be safe. Mork raised a scaled hand. Will we see hippopotamuses? Jake nodded. Our itinerary includes an African wildlife preserve. You'll observe hippos from a safe distance. The day of departure arrived. The Academy's transport vessel, capable of atmospheric entry and designed for educational missions, was loaded with equipment, specimens containers, and excited students. Jake felt a strange sensation as they approached Earth. He had been away for less than a year, but returning as a guide for aliens made his homeworld seem suddenly foreign. Their first touchdown was in Kenya, where arrangements had been made with local authorities for the academic visit. Special vehicles with reinforced environmental controls would allow the alien students to observe wildlife safely. As their convoy approached the river where hippopotamuses were known to gather, Jake could feel the tension among his classmates. Through the transparent viewing ports, they could see the massive animals partially submerged in the water. There they are, Jake said over the vehicle's communication system. Hippopotamus amphibious, exactly as I described them. The alien students pressed against the viewing ports, their various sensory organs fixed on the seemingly placid creatures. Suddenly, one of the hippos rose from the water, opening its massive jaws in what appeared to be a yawn, but revealed rows of enormous teeth. Several students recoiled in alarm. Is it attacking? asked Linny, her gelatinous form contracting anxiously. No, Jake assured her. That's just a dominance display. They do that to establish territory. As if on cue, the hippo charged another that had ventured too close, the water churning violently around the massive beasts. The students watched in fascinated horror as the multi-ton creatures moved with shocking speed and aggression, and humans evolved alongside these, Professor Zorb asked, his multiple eyes dilating with newfound respect. Alongside these and many other dangerous species, Jake confirmed. This is just one small example of what shaped human evolution. As the convoy continued its tour, Jake felt a peculiar pride. Through his alien classmates' eyes, he was seeing Earth anew, not as the ordinary world he'd taken for granted, but as the extraordinary crucible that had forged humanity. The Earth expedition continued, moving from the African savanna to the Amazon rainforest. With each new biome, Jake watched his alien classmates' reactions shift from initial terror to cautious fascination. They collected samples, recorded observations, and experienced firsthand the planet that had produced humanity. In the Amazon, the sheer diversity of life forms overwhelmed the Academy's cataloging systems. Species that Earth biologists considered commonplace, poison dart frogs, electric eels, and parasitic fungi, elicited particular concern among the alien students. Your world seems designed to kill, observed Krill as they carefully collected water samples from a tributary teeming with piranhas. Every organism appears weaponized in some fashion. Jake shook his head. Not designed to kill, designed to survive. Competition for resources drove specialized adaptations. Professor Zorb, who had been analyzing the samples in real time, interjected. Jake is correct. What we're witnessing isn't malevolence, but the result of billions of years of evolutionary pressure. The question remains, how did humans thrive amidst such competition? The answer became clearer during their next stop. An archaeological site where early human habitation had been preserved. The site curator, Dr. Martinez, had been briefed about the unusual visitors and greeted the Academy group warmly. What you're seeing, Dr. Martinez explained, gesturing to the ancient fire pit and stone tools, is evidence of humanity's greatest adaptation, our ability to modify our environment rather than waiting for evolution to modify us. The alien students examined the primitive but effective tools with new appreciation. Mork picked up a replica hand axe, testing its weight. This simple technology equalized the playing field between humans and megafauna, Dr. Martinez continued. But more importantly, these sites show evidence of social cooperation, multiple humans working together, sharing knowledge across generations. Collaborative survival, Professor Zorb noted. Most species on death worlds evolve toward solitary existence to maximize resource acquisition. Dr. Martinez smiled. Humans took the opposite approach. We formed stronger social bonds precisely because the environment was so dangerous. Alone, a human stood little chance against a saber-toothed cat. Together, with coordinated hunting and defensive strategies, humans became apex predators themselves. That evening, the expedition camped in a specially prepared compound. With appropriate environmental adjustments for each species, the students gathered around a traditional human campfire, safely contained for those who found Earth's oxygen levels problematic. Jake found himself the center of attention as his classmates peppered him with questions about growing up on Earth. He shared stories of childhood camping trips, encounters with wildlife, and natural disasters he had witnessed. You mean water actually falls from your sky regularly? Plex asked, crystalline structure vibrating with disbelief. And you consider this normal? Completely normal, Jake confirmed. We call it rain, and most ecosystems depend on it. And these mosquitoes, tiny flying creatures that extract your bodily fluids, they exist everywhere on your planet? Tool's gaseous form swirled with concern. In most places with standing water, yes. They're more annoying than dangerous in most regions now, though they can spread disease. As the night progressed, Jake realized something profound was happening. His alien classmates were beginning to understand humanity in context, not as an anomaly in the galactic community, but as a product of Earth's unique evolutionary pressures. Professor Zorb approached Jake as the gathering wound down. Your classmates have submitted their midterm research proposals, he said. Every single one involves some aspect of human adaptation or Earth ecology. You've sparked quite the academic revolution, Jake. Jake watched as Grex and Linny carefully examined a harmless garden spider that had wandered into their camp, their initial fear now replaced by scientific curiosity. I think they're starting to understand us better, Jake said. Not just understand, Professor Zorb replied. They're beginning to respect what humanity accomplished. Fear of the unknown has been replaced by appreciation for your species' resilience. As the Earth's moon rose over their camp, Jake felt a strange sense of fulfillment. The word hippopotamus had been just the beginning. Through facing their fears and experiencing Earth firsthand, his alien classmates were discovering what it meant to be human. The final day of the Earth expedition arrived sooner than anyone expected. Their last scheduled stop was the Intergalactic Cultural Exchange Center in Geneva, where the first contact between humans and the Federation had occurred 30 years earlier. As their transport glided over the Swiss Alps, Jake noticed his classmates were unusually quiet, their various sensory organs fixed on the landscape below. What had initially terrified them now seemed to hold them in awe. "It's beautiful," Leanie said finally, her translucent body reflecting the mountain sunlight. "Dangerous, yes, but undeniably beautiful." The Cultural Exchange Center was hosting a special symposium on the expedition's findings. Federation diplomats, Earth scientists, and media from both human and alien worlds gathered to hear the Academy students present their observations. Professor Zorb opened the proceedings. "When we first conceived this expedition, we expected to document the challenges of a death world environment. What we discovered was something far more significant. The extraordinary relationship between Earth's dangers and humanity's development." One by one, the alien students presented their research. Krill detailed how human immune systems had evolved to combat Earth's myriad pathogens. Mork analyzed the neurological impact of predator awareness on human cognitive development. Plex demonstrated how Earth's variable climate had driven human technological innovation. When all the formal presentations concluded, the Federation's chief xenologist addressed the gathering. "This expedition has provided unprecedented insights into humanity's rapid advancement from a pre-industrial society to a spacefaring one in mere centuries, a pace unmatched in Federation records." Jake was asked to provide closing remarks. Standing before the assembled dignitaries, he felt the weight of representing not just the Academy but humanity itself. "When I first arrived at the Intergalactic Academy," Jake began, "my classmates viewed Earth as unremarkable and humans as primitive newcomers to the galactic community. Then I mentioned a hippopotamus." A ripple of laughter passed through the alien contingent. That single word, representing just one of countless dangerous species humans evolved alongside, began a journey of understanding. My classmates discovered that what humans consider normal would be catastrophic for most species. Jake gestured to his fellow students. They came to Earth expecting to find evidence of humanity's struggles. Instead, they found evidence of our triumphs. Our art, our cities, our cooperation, all forged in an environment that should have made such achievements impossible. After the symposium, as the Academy transport prepared for departure, Jake found himself saying goodbye to Earth once again. This time, however, he wasn't leaving alone. He was accompanied by classmates who now carried a piece of Earth's story with them. Professor Zorb approached as the students boarded the vessel. "The Academy Council has approved a new department focused on Death World studies, with Earth as the primary research subject. They've asked me to head it, and I'd like you to be my assistant when you graduate." Jake was stunned. "That's a tremendous honor, Professor." "Not at all," Zorb replied, his multiple eyes blinking warmly. "You've earned it. Your perspective is invaluable." As the transport lifted off, Jake watched Earth recede beneath them. Blue oceans, white clouds, and the continents where humanity had fought, loved, built, and survived against incredible odds. Grex settled into the seat beside him. "Your world changed us all," the arachnoid said quietly. "Before, we saw humans as lucky survivors who somehow stumbled into space travel. Now we understand. You aren't merely survivors. You're conquerors of a world that should have conquered you." Jake smiled. "We never thought of it that way. Earth was simply home." "That," said Grex, is perhaps the most remarkable thing of all. The transport accelerated toward the academy, carrying students forever changed by their encounter with Earth. In the months that followed, applications from Federation species to study humanity increased tenfold. Earth, once considered an afterthought in galactic affairs, became a focal point of xenobiological research. And it all began with a single word that sparked fear, then curiosity, then respect: hippopotamus. In the vast tapestry of galactic civilization, humanity had found its unique thread. Not despite evolving on a death world, but because of it. The very dangers that might have prevented human development had instead forged a species uniquely equipped for the challenges of the cosmos. As Jake began preparations for the next Earth expedition, he reflected on how thoroughly perceptions had changed. His alien friends no longer feared Earth's creatures. They respected them. And by extension, they respected the humans who had evolved among them. In the end, understanding had replaced fear, and a hippopotamus had become not just a dangerous creature, but a powerful symbol of humanity's extraordinary journey to the stars.